There is a reason these feathers are barbed, by MJ_Panzinco, Chapter 6. There's still cobwebs in the corners. There's a wet slap as the frog's head falls to the sidewalk. Its blood, acid green, starts to smoke as it bleeds into the weeds in between the cracks. He shoves the axe into the frog's warty chest, just in case. Maybe Toad would have been a more apt description. Then again, so would Arachnid, given the amount of legs and mandibles. Ah, well. Wilbur wipes the blood off the blade with a horribly stained towel. He kicks the body back into the mud and continues his patrol down the lake. The park was large for such a tightly packed city. He had a sneaky suspicion some of the plants had mutated. All remains of pathways and benches had been swallowed up in record time. He presumed it was record time. It wasn't fun to think that humanity could be swallowed up in just 2 months. Just 2 months, scratches of days and weeks on the handle of his axe. Tally marks, messy and neatly carved. A name as well. It wasn't his. There were fish with too many heads. Wilbur lured them up to the bank with pebbles and wiggling fingers before dragging them up to drawing air. They were safe to eat once cooked. 2 fish in one hand, axe over his shoulder, towel tucked in his belt. Wilbur moved on. He had been living in the park for 2 weeks. You would think an overgrown public park would be a horrible place to set up shop during an apocalypse involving mutated animals, but Wilbur made it work. Bi-weekly patrols to grab food and kill anything that had been brave enough to wander in, and he was fine. Some of the monsters simply watched from the other side of the road as Wilbur clumped his way past. They eyed him warily. There was something smart in their eyes. The possum-like creatures that sat on the telephone wires. He was pretty sure they had a trading deal with the buggy ravens. Whatever intelligence they had, however, it wasn't human. It wasn't even close. He let them spread animalistic rumors about the park and the lone human residing in it. Mint less stain on his towel, mint less stains on his mantle. The little gardener's shed had been cleared out. Half of the tools had been rusting anyway. Dumping them along with the weed killer in the nearby pond had done nothing but help him remove the local hellfish population. Fish may have developed legs first, however, long ago, but they were not meant to grow them back. The shed had been, mostly, cleared of cobwebs. The shelves had been straightened up, and his sleeping bag sat comfortably on the workbench. There was even fuel in the back, likely from the lawnmower, but it fueled his little camping stove just fine. The hose still miraculously produced water. Wilbur was doing pretty great. All things considered, he hadn't washed his clothes in a month. His ribs ached through their bandages. His hair was greasy and wild, and his glasses cracked. He was doing fine on his own, alone, the less human still. Human. He wondered about the rest of the world. In the pitch darkness of the shed, Moonlight tried to force its way in through cracks in the wood and the papers over the window. It didn't reach him. Is the entire world this fucked? He wonders. Is it just Britain? He knew it's not just this city. Not just this city and the one he came from. The cars came flocking, and then the monsters started hunting. Infection, mass panic, survival. Suppose it doesn't matter. He was the last human. No one else is left. Nothing he could even do to save them. He rolled over. Sleep is merciful, releasing you from conscious thoughts so that you can no longer purposely antagonize yourself. Sleep is cruel, sucking you down into the deep unconscious so that you can antagonize yourself anyway. It says all the faces in your dreams are people you've seen before, even if just in passing. Wilbur believes this. He knew every face that passed through his nightmares. Unfortunately, the majority of faces he's seen recently are nightmarish. Wilbur wakes up to rain pounding on the ceiling. It sounds like the march of a funeral. Wilbur can see the face in the coffin, pale and young, hair already turning silver with fur and glassy eyes opening and changing to angry black. And they don't know him. He doesn't know him, and he hates him. Wilbur wakes up to the rain pounding on the ceiling. It sounds like a jeering crowd. There's a guitar in his hands, and he turns his head to hide, and there's a man on his back with his head splitting open, and he's crying until his eyes bleed, and the crowd rears up, spilling over in a stampede of limbs and jaws and snapping wings and teeth, and their eyes are angry, and they don't know him, but they hate him. And Wilbur woke up. The rain pounded on the ceiling. It sounded like regret. It was cold in the leaky shed. The cold sweat didn't help. Wilbur got up and pulled his old socks. He shrugged on his tattered old trench coat and wrapped it tightly around him. He pushed his toes deep into his boots. The dust was slowly choking him. He'd been coughing more often than not. His red-covered habit of smoking didn't help. He pulled the package from his jacket pocket. He grabbed the lighter from beside the camping stove. It is a scuffed old thing. A hand-me-down from... There's a goat school design chipping away on the front. Wilbur flipped it open and moved towards the door. The shed is mostly airtight, and no matter how calming the smoke roots in his lungs may be to his nerves, Wilbur wasn't fond of stinking up his shed. His dusty old shed. Wilbur huffed. God, he was pathetic. He opened the door. There was a goat on his doorstep. The cigarette halfway to his lips dropped from his hand. There is a goat, colored up in a small dry patch under the shed over halving roof. It was small, with matted curls and curling horns and muddy clothes. It was still wearing its clothes. Wilbur's chest hurt. It was deeper than a cough, than the ache in his limbs. It was familiar, and it hurt. The goat was breathing slowly. Beneath the vaguely parted jacket, the goat was fast asleep. Wilbur began to back up. His boots landed on the singular creaky board just past the doorway because fucking course he did. The goat jerked. Wilbur's axe materialized in his hand. The goat was on its feet, standing on its hind legs, and stumbling backwards, still woozy from sleep. Wilbur swung. The goat jumped backwards with a shriek. It sounded hoarse, but young, too human. Its face was covered by a mop of tangled brown hair. It paused to sweep a clenching, dark-nailed hand across its face, and Wilbur winded back, aiming straight for its head. It brushed its hair aside. The singular revealed the eye. In the split second before the axe came down, winded. "Wait!" the goat screeched. Wilbur froze in place, axe outstretched, stiffly. "What? You're still human? How are you still human?" "Well, I mean, I'm still human, but not human, you know. How the hell are you human? You can talk?" Yes. Pretty obvious, right?" Wilbur stared. His axe was limp at his side as his jaw hung open. The goat, the boy, didn't seem to recognize the impossibility of his existence. How? What does that mean, how? Wilbur was at a loss for words. How would he? How does he? He doesn't. He can't. You shouldn't be able to. You shouldn't. You shouldn't still be alive. How are we still alive? The boy shrunk a bit under his gaze. Cold eyes and bad weather and dark circles. I mean, I'm pretty good at surviving. Can eat almost anything, you know, goat and all that. Pretty useful. Wilbur lurched forward, axe falling into the mud. Rain enveloping him like an old friend, and planted his hands on the boy's shoulders. "How?" he demanded. "You can still think? Can you still speak? Call yourself human? How are you alive?" If this boy, this fucking child, Wilbur realizes that massive brown eye looked up at him, was still sentient, still undeniably a person, then that could mean the boy was clearly still struggling to come up with an answer. Wilbur let go of his shoulders, clenched his fists into his hair, turned to face the sky, and screamed. What have he done? Oh God, what have he done? What if... No, he could still be right. The boy could be a fluke, sheer dumb luck. They could still be dead. Why was he believing them dead more comforting? Because he had abandoned them, one after the other. Are you okay? Wilbur wheeled. Okay? The boy shuffled sheepishly. Okay? Oh, fucking okay? Oh no, good boy. I'm great. I'm fantastic. It's the fucking apocalypse. I'm the last goddamn human being on the planet for all I know. I talk to a goat. Oi! I'm still human. Mostly, I mean. Probably other than the stomachs and fur and horns and stuff. Who is a delusional child who hasn't realized he's dead yet. That took the kid back. What? That's right, you're dead, kiddo. Dead as all the rest of humanity. It's me against the world, and you're just a ghost of whatever you were before. We're all fucking dead, gods. He hiccuped hysterical laughter trickling from his throat as rain tickles like tears down his face. We're all dead. We're either already dead or going to be dead soon, so we're all dead. Oh God. I don't think I agree with that. Shut up. Silence. The rain pounds on the roof of the shed. It pounds into the soil. into Wilbur's skull. The boy's lip is trembling slightly. "I'm too young to die," the boy says, his eyes watery. His eyes watery and huge, long pupil aside. It reminds him of... No. "Aren't we all, kid? Aren't we all?" Wilbur mumbles as he turns away. He's lost a kid once. Not again. Never. Again. He goes to retain the shed. Smell be damned. He had the squish of mud under hooves behind him. He glanced over his shoulder to see the kid approaching steadily. "What are you doing?" Wilbur deadpanned. Coming in?" The kid says as if the most obvious thing in the world. No. Yes. "You're not coming inside my house, my shed," Wilbur quickly corrected. "But it's pouring wet," the boy whined. "Tough shit, kid. Now scram. Go and shit somewhere else." The kid was on his doorstep again, glaring up at him. "You're not coming in," Wilbur stated flatly. The boy crossed his arms. It reminded Wilbur almost exactly of... Down to the sad job. The determination. The horse twisting and cracking and bleeding and his screaming. "You're not..." Wilbur's willpower was quickly beginning to wane. The universe was probably laughing at him, staring down at the perfect combination of both his failures soaking wet on his doorstep. "Pretty please?" It was so far so sarcastic, and yet genuinely pleading Wilbur. He had to. He couldn't. He shook his head and began to close the door. Jim seemed to set the kid off. No, wait," he stammered. "Wait, please. If you were gonna turn into a monster, you would be one already. You're safe. I'm safe, please." The door swung back open. Wilbur was already out of sight in the gloom. The boy gave a sigh of relief and trotted inside. His hooves happily clip-clopping on the rotting wood. A small waterfall fell off of him as he began to shake himself like a dog. Wilbur sat up on his bench, dragged his hands down his face, and sighed, heavily, exhausted. God, he was tired of this. Sick to death of this. With a bit of luck, it might actually kill him one day. Slowly. His gaze followed the kid as he looked around the small shed, droppy ears flicking. His words rang in Wilbur's head. "If you were going to turn into a monster, you would already be one." The kid was alive. No doubt about that. He was less threatening than a fly. He was... a kid. Literally just some kid. If he could survive even this twisted and keep his mind intact, then he was already a monster. Maybe not in the way the kid had meant it, but he was. He meant he'd... Oh God, what have he done? Oh my God, you have food! Wilbur's head jacked back up. No. Crunch. Did you just bite through the fucking can?